Imagine you go to sleep in the age of reason. You are a builder, a statesman, a man who believes in logic, science, and the perfectibility of the human species. You close your eyes believing that despite the war, despite the betrayals, there is a future worth fighting for. Then, you wake up. But you don't wake up the next morning. You wake up 10,000 years later. The dream you built is dead. The logic you cherished is now heresy. The science you championed has been replaced by fear, superstition, and the screeching prayers of trillions of fanatics who worship your father as a god, something he expressly forbade. You look at the stars, and half of them have been swallowed by hell itself. You look at your brothers, and they are either dead, missing, or have become the very monsters you swore to destroy. You are the last adult left in a room full of screaming, violent children, and the door is locked. This isn't just a story about a super soldier in blue armor. This is a story about the absolute, crushing weight of duty. It is about waking up to a nightmare and realizing you are the only one who can't go back to sleep. This is the tragic stoicism of Roboute Guilliman, the Avenging Son, and why his struggle is the most human story in the grim darkness of the far future. Introduction. The dream is dead. To understand the tragedy of Roboute Guilliman, we have to strip away the bolters, the chainswords, and the epic scale of Warhammer 40,000 for a moment. We need to look at the man inside the armor. In the lexicon of literary analysis, there is a term called the tragic hero. This isn't just a good guy who has a bad day. A tragic hero is a character of noble stature who is destined to suffer, not because they are weak, but because their very strengths force them into impossible situations. Guilliman is often mocked by the fanbase as the Boy Scout. He is the master of spreadsheets, the administrator, the one who does his homework. In a universe fueled by rage and magic, being the guy who organizes logistics doesn't seem very cool. But that competence is exactly what makes his existence a living hell. When Guilliman was resurrected in the Gathering Storm narrative event, he didn't cheer. He didn't feel a surge of triumph. He looked at the Imperium of man in the 41st Millennium, a rotting, bloated, xenophobic theocracy, and he felt a despair so profound it nearly broke him. There is a line from the novel Dark Imperium that captures this perfectly. Upon seeing the state of the humanity he died to protect, he thinks to himself, "Better that we had all burned in the fires of Horus's ambition than lived to see this." Think about the weight of that statement. He is saying that extinction would have been preferable to this survival. He is saying that the bad guys winning 10,000 years ago might have been a cleaner mercy than this slow, agonizing decay. Yet, he does not pull the trigger. He does not walk away. He picks up his father's flaming sword, he puts on the armor that keeps him alive, and he goes to work. Why? This is the central question of our analysis today. Why does a man continue to push the boulder up the hill when he knows it will only roll back down? Why fight for a civilization that hates everything you stand for? To answer that, we have to look at Guilliman not as a demigod of war, but as a philosopher king. We have to look at him through the lens of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who wrote meditations while leading campaigns on the Danube. Like Aurelius, Guilliman is a man who craves peace and philosophy, but is condemned to a life of eternal warfare. He is the ultimate embodiment of a specific kind of suffering that resonates deeply with the modern condition. He is a man surrounded by people, yet he has never been more alone. He is the most powerful man in the galaxy, yet he has no agency to change the fundamental nature of his reality. Over the course of this deep dive, we are going to deconstruct the psychology of the Primarch. We will look at his physical pain, his theological crisis, and his relationships with his twisted brothers. We are going to explore why, in a world of gods and monsters, the most compelling superpower is simply the will to endure. So, let's open the file on the Lord Commander of the Imperium. It is time to see the man behind the myth. Chapter 1. The Rot in the Soul. Before we dissect the lore, we need to understand the atmosphere. Why is this character trending now? Why are we, in the real world, suddenly so fascinated by a Roman emperor figure struggling against the collapse of his society? If you look at the psychological landscape of the United States right now, particularly among men, you see a reflection of that grim darkness. We are living through what sociologists are calling a loneliness epidemic. Data from the American Psychiatric Association suggests that nearly a third of adults feel isolated every single week. For young men specifically, the numbers are even starker. There is a sense of disconnection, a feeling that the structures we relied on, community, friendship, purpose, are fracturing. In this vacuum, Stoicism has made a massive comeback. You see it on YouTube, in podcasts, in best-selling books. But there is a problem. A lot of what passes for Stoicism on the internet is what I like to call broicism. This is a shallow, toxic interpretation that tells men to suppress their emotions, to act like statues, to be alpha by not caring. It treats emotions as a weakness to be amputated. That is not Stoicism, and that is not Roboute Guilliman. True Stoicism, the kind practiced by Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, isn't about not feeling. It is about not being enslaved by what you feel. It is about acknowledging the grief, the rage, and the fear, and then doing your duty anyway, because it is the right thing to do. Guilliman is the perfect avatar for this true Stoicism. He is not a biological robot. If you read the Dark Imperium trilogy or the Unremembered Empire, you see a man who feels things deeply. He feels a crushing sense of loss for his foster father Conor. He feels a blinding, hot rage toward Lorgar and the word-bearers for betraying the dream of unity. He feels a profound, aching sadness when he looks at the ruined architecture of Macragge. He wants to scream. He wants to weep. There are moments in his internal monologues where he admits he is terrified. He looks at the horrors of the warp, beings that defy physics and sanity, and his rational mind recoils in horror. But he doesn't let you see that. To the common citizen, to the Space Marines under his command, he is a marble statue come to life. He is unshakable. He wears a mask of absolute certainty because he knows that if he falters, even for a second, the morale of the entire Imperium collapses. This is the core of his tragedy, and it creates a powerful resonance for anyone who has ever had to be the strong one in a family or a crisis. Guilliman is suffering from a cosmic version of executive isolation. He is carrying the weight of a galaxy-spanning empire, but he has no peers. He cannot vent to his subordinates because they worship him as a demigod. He cannot vent to his brothers because they are dead or demons. He is trapped in a prison of his own competence. This connects directly to the modern male experience of the silent struggle. The idea that you must provide, protect, and endure, but you cannot complain. Guilliman validates that struggle. He shows us that feeling overwhelmed doesn't make you weak. Feeling lonely doesn't make you a failure. What matters is that you keep moving the pen across the parchment. What matters is that you keep the supply lines open. He represents the resilience required to survive in a world that seems determined to crush you. He is the answer to the nihilism that says, nothing matters, so why try? Guilliman looks into the abyss of the 41st millennium, where truly nothing seems to matter, where the laughter of thirsting gods echoes in the void, and he says, it matters because I am here. It matters because I say it does. This philosophical grounding is crucial because it raises the stakes. We aren't just watching a general move armies on a map. We are watching a man fight a war against depression and hopelessness on a galactic scale. And the first battleground of that war isn't on a distant planet. It is inside his own room, with his own body. Chapter 2. The Armor of Fate. You might think that being a Primarch, a genetically engineered demigod of war, means you are invincible. You imagine him standing tall on the battlefield, bullets bouncing off his chest, untouched by the frailties that plague mortal men. But to understand Guilliman, you have to look at him when the parade is over, when the doors are closed, and he is all alone. For a long time after his resurrection, Guilliman was a prisoner, not in a jail cell, but in his own suit. The armor of fate was designed by Belisarius Cawl to keep him alive. It was a marvel of technology, a life support system that pumped stimulants and regulators into his body to counteract the lethal poison left in his veins by his demon brother Fulgrim. He was told, quite explicitly, that if he ever took it off, he would die. Imagine that. You are the savior of humanity, but you cannot feel the wind on your skin. You cannot wear simple robes. You are encased in ceramite and machinery every second of every day. You are strong, but you are fragile. You are a king, but you are a slave to a machine. But Guilliman is a Stoic, and the first rule of Stoicism is self-mastery. He could not accept being dependent on a device, especially one that relied on dubious technology. He needed to know that he was still the master of his own existence. So, in the short story appropriately titled The Armor of Fate, he does the unthinkable. He takes it off. This is not a triumphant scene. It is a scene of torture. As the armor plates are removed, the pain returns instantly. It is described as a wave of agony that nearly doubles him over. His hands shake. His temperature plummets. He bleeds. He gasps for air, shivering uncontrollably as the ancient poison flares up in his system. He sits at his desk, stripped of his godlike shell, reduced to a shivering, traumatized man. And what does he do? Does he call for help? Does he put the armor back on to stop the pain? No. He picks up a data slate. He starts reading logistics reports. He forces himself to endure the agony, minute by minute, hour by hour, just to prove to himself that he can. He trades comfort for autonomy. He chooses suffering over slavery. This image of Guilliman, sitting in the dark, teeth gritted, reading tax reports while his body screams in rebellion, is infinitely more heroic than any sword fight he has ever won. It humanizes him in a way that is almost painful to watch. It speaks to every man who has ever had to work through chronic pain, to every person who has had to get up and do their job while battling illness or depression. He is not Superman. He is a man holding himself together by sheer force of will. He is wearing a mask of strength for the galaxy, but underneath, he is scarred and hurting. And yet, the work must be done. Chapter 3. Competence in a World of Idiots. If Chapter 2 is about the pain of the body, Chapter 3 is about the pain of the mind. There is a genre of storytelling that the internet has dubbed competence porn. It is the satisfaction we get from watching a highly skilled person solve complex problems through intelligence and grit. Think of the movie The Martian. The main character is stranded on a hostile planet. He doesn't survive by shooting aliens. He survives by doing math, by farming potatoes, by solving one logistical nightmare after another. Roboute Guilliman is the Mark Watney of the 41st Millennium. But instead of being stranded on Mars, he is stranded in a galaxy-sized asylum. And instead of bad weather, his obstacle is the sheer, weaponized incompetence of the Imperium he rules. Guilliman has never been the strongest fighter. That title belongs to Angron or Leman Russ. Guilliman's superpower is administration. He is the Avenging Son, not because he avenges with a sword, but because he avenges with a spreadsheet. He understands that wars are not won by heroes. They are won by supply lines, ammunition counts, and standardized troop formations. But here is the tragedy. He is the smartest man in the room, and he is surrounded by the meddling, ungrateful, arrogant people that Marcus Aurelius warned us about. When Guilliman returns to Terra, he doesn't find the enlightened Senate his father intended. He finds the High Lords of Terra, a group of petty, squabbling politicians who are more interested in protecting their own power than saving humanity. He finds the Ecclesiarchy, a religious institution that worships his father as a god, defying everything the emperor stood for. They are corrupt, ignorant, and inefficient. Imagine you are the CEO of a company that you built from the ground up. You leave for a while, and when you come back, the new management has turned the office into a cult. They are burning the instruction manuals you wrote, and they are actively destroying the business while praising your name. That is Guilliman's life. In the Dark Imperium trilogy, we see his internal monologue as he deals with these people. He despises the bureaucracy. He hates the inefficiency. He looks at the bloated, rotting government and thinks, this empire is driven by fear, hatred, and ignorance. But again, the Stoic discipline kicks in. A lesser man would burn it all down. A lesser man, like his brother Angron, would destroy it in a fit of rage. A weaker man, like Lorgar, would break because reality didn't match his expectations. Guilliman does neither. He engages in what we might call the great cleanup. He accepts the reality for what it is, a mess, and he starts organizing. He replaces the corrupt high lords. He streamlines the logistics. He writes the Codex Imperialis. There is a profound catharsis in watching him work. In a world of chaos, literal and metaphorical, Guilliman imposes order through pure administrative will. He is Jordan Peterson telling the galaxy to clean its room, but the room is a million worlds, and the mess is demonic incursions. He is the competence archetype. We love him because he is the adult who steps in and fixes the leaking pipe while the house is burning down. He doesn't complain that the pipe shouldn't be leaking, he just fixes it. But this competence comes at a terrible price. It isolates him. He realizes that he is operating on a level that no one else can comprehend. He is playing 4D chess while the rest of the Imperium is eating the checkers. He is the only sane man left, the only adult in the room, and the realization of that loneliness is a burden heavier than any physical armor. Chapter 4. The Brothers. To truly understand a man, you have to look at his family. And Roboute Guilliman comes from the most dysfunctional family in history. In literature, we use the concept of a foil, a character who contrasts with the protagonist to highlight specific traits. Guilliman's brothers serve as dark mirrors, showing us exactly what he could have become if he had let go of his Stoic discipline. First, let's look at Mortarion, the Primarch of the Death Guard. Mortarion represents the surrender to despair. He looked at a universe full of pain and decided that the only way to stop hurting was to stop caring. He gave his soul to Nurgle, the god of decay, in exchange for deliverance. In the novel Godblight, there is a chilling moment where Mortarion tries to tempt Guilliman. He says, "Hush now, Roboute. Hush. Don't you want that for it to be done?" He is offering the ultimate release. He is offering the peace of the grave. He is offering an end to the paperwork, the war, and the struggle. It is the voice of depression whispering, "Just stay in bed, it's easier." But Guilliman refuses. He rejects the easy way out. He chooses the pain of existence over the numbness of damnation. This is a rejection of nihilism. Then there is Angron, the Red Angel. Angron is the anti-Stoic. He is pure, unadulterated emotion. He is rage made manifest. He has no control. He is a slave to the butcher's nails in his brain. When Guilliman fights Angron in Arcs of Omen, he is physically outmatched. Angron is a monster of infinite strength. But Guilliman survives because he possesses the armor of reason. He wins, or at least he doesn't lose, because he thinks. He maintains his cool while Angron burns himself out. It is the triumph of the rational mind over the chaotic impulse. And finally, we have the return of Lionel Johnson. For a long time, Guilliman was the only loyal son left. The return of the Lion changes the dynamic entirely. If Guilliman is the administrator, the Lion is the exterminator. They have clashed in the past, fiercely, but now they are two old men in a game that has passed them by. There is a beautiful tragedy in their relationship now. The Lion has returned old, weathered, looking every bit his age. Guilliman looks young because of stasis, but his soul feels ancient. They are the only two people in the galaxy who remember what the dream was supposed to look like. The Lion's return validates Guilliman's struggle. It tells him, "You are not alone." It's a subtle reminder that even the strongest man needs a peer. You cannot carry the world entirely by yourself forever. Eventually, you need a brother. Chapter 5. The Theological Trap. Now we arrive at the cruelest irony of Guilliman's existence, the ultimate cosmic joke. 10,000 years ago, Guilliman was the one who censured the word-bearers. On the Emperor's orders, He burned the city of Monarchia to the ground because Lorgar, his brother, was worshipping the emperor as a god. Guilliman was the instrument of secular truth. He punished religion because it was a lie. Fast forward to the 41st millennium. Lorgar is a demon prince of chaos. But look around the Imperium. Every world is Monarchia now. The book that Lorgar wrote, the Lectitio Divinitatis, is the holy Bible of the state religion. Lorgar won. The traitor won the culture war. And Guilliman, the man who burned the church, is now forced to be its pope. This is the theological trap. Guilliman knows with scientific certainty that the emperor is not a god. He is a powerful psychic warlord, yes, but not divine. Yet he sees that faith is the only thing holding the Imperium together. If he tells the truth, if he goes on the Voxcasters and says, "My father was an atheist, stop praying," the Imperium collapses into civil war. So, he has to lie. Or rather, he has to remain silent. This comes to a head in the Godblight Wars. Guilliman is infected with a plague that can kill a god. He is dying. Logic has failed. Science has failed. And then, a miracle happens. The Emperor acts through him. He burns the Garden of Nurgle with psychic fire. This shatters Guilliman's worldview. He is forced to confront the possibility that in the warp, collective belief creates reality. If enough people believe the Emperor is a god, does he become one? He is a rationalist trapped in a magical universe. He is an atheist who just got saved by a miracle. The cognitive dissonance is deafening. But here is where his pragmatism, the practical application of Stoicism, shines. He doesn't have a breakdown, he doesn't convert. He simply accepts the utility of the situation. He realizes, I don't have to believe it, but I have to use it. He creates a middle path. He allows the faith to continue because it is a weapon against chaos, even if he personally finds it repulsive. This is the ultimate sacrifice. He isn't just sacrificing his life, he is sacrificing his integrity. He is compromising his core values to save a people who hate his values. That is a level of selfless duty that goes beyond mere heroism. It is martyrdom of the soul. Chapter 6. The most human moment. If I had to pick one scene that defines Guilliman, it wouldn't be a battle. It would be his meeting with Commander Dante of the Blood Angels in the devastation of Baal. Dante is a legend. He has been chapter master for 1100 years. He is the oldest living space marine. He has fought for the Imperium longer than Guilliman has been awake. And he is tired. So tired. After the Tyranids are defeated, Dante falls to his knees before the Primarch. He is broken. He looks up at Guilliman and begs for release. He essentially asks, "Have I done enough? Can I die now? Please let me rest." This is a man who has given everything. He is asking his father figure for permission to let go. And what does Guilliman do? He reaches down. He helps the old warrior to his feet. And he says, "I will not accept displays of humility from a man like you. You are one of the few in this era who have earned the right to speak to me on equal terms." He refuses to let Dante kneel. He treats him not as a subordinate, but as a peer. But then, he denies Dante's request. He doesn't let him die. He heals him. He gives him more responsibility. He makes him warden of the Imperium Nihilus. On the surface, this looks cruel. Here is your reward, more work. But look deeper. Guilliman is recognizing a kindred spirit. He looks at Dante and sees another man who is carrying the weight of the world, another man who wants to quit but can't. He keeps Dante alive because he needs him. It's a moment of profound selfishness, but also profound connection. It is Guilliman saying, "I know you are tired. I am tired too. But we are the only adults in the room, Dante. We don't get to sleep. Not yet." It is the most human moment in the lore because it strips away the rank and the power, leaving just two exhausted men sharing the burden of an impossible duty. Chapter 7. The Silent Scream. We need to talk about where Guilliman is right now. The story didn't end with Godblight. The recent lore books, particularly the Arcs of Omen series and the Dawn of Fire novels like Hand of Abaddon, show a Guilliman who is fraying at the edges. The mask is slipping. In the novel The Silent King, there is a scene where Guilliman launches a solo assault against the Necrons and Nurgle forces. He fights with a ferocity that scares his own bodyguards. The Custodes Tribune, Colquhoun, who usually hates Guilliman, is actually worried. He realizes that the Primarch isn't just fighting to win, he is fighting to vent. He is using violence as therapy. He is facing the Pariah Nexus, a region of space where the Necrons have severed the connection to the warp. Humans in this zone just stop. They fall into a lethargic depression. They lose the will to live. Guilliman is resisting it, but the metaphor is perfect. He is fighting a literal manifestation of depression. The silence of the Nexus is the silence of his own soul screaming into the void. And despite the return of the lion, the galaxy is getting darker. The enemies are stronger. The hand of Abaddon is closing around the throat of the Imperium. We are seeing a Guilliman who is becoming more ruthless, more desperate. The Boy Scout is gone. In his place is a man who realizes that he might have to become a monster to save humanity from monsters. This is the cliffhanger we are left with. How much more can he take before the Stoic breaks? How much tragedy can one hero absorb before he becomes the villain? Conclusion: we must imagine him enduring. So, why does this matter? Why should you, a person living in the 21st century, care about the fictional struggles of a superhuman in the 41st millennium? Because Roboute Guilliman is the myth of Sisyphus for the modern age. Albert Camus wrote that Sisyphus, the king condemned to roll a boulder up a hill only for it to fall back down for eternity, is the ultimate absurd hero. Camus concluded that one must imagine Sisyphus happy. I don't know if we can imagine Guilliman happy. Happiness is a luxury he cannot afford. But we must imagine him enduring. Guilliman teaches us that you don't need to be happy to be effective. You don't need to live in a perfect world to do good work. You don't need to be loved to do your duty. In a world that feels increasingly chaotic, where institutions are failing and the future feels uncertain, Guilliman is a reminder that the act of holding the line is heroic in itself. Maybe you are feeling that loneliness. Maybe you feel like you are the only one trying to keep things together in your family, your job, or your community. Maybe you feel like the boulder is rolling back down every single day. Guilliman's story tells you, push it anyway. Not because you will win, not because you will get a reward, but because the alternative is to let the darkness win. You push the boulder because you are the one who can. He wakes up every day in a nightmare, puts on the armor of fate, and gets to work. And if he can do it, facing the laughter of thirsting gods, then maybe, just maybe, we can get up and face our day too. Because in the grim darkness of the far future, and in the quiet struggles of our own lives, competence is the only rebellion we have left.